Hello, hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. Today we are doing a 6-month check-in of ear prosperity, which included a low no buy, and we're just gonna kind of chat and catch up on how things have gone the first 6 months. We're in the 7th month currently, but I want to do a quick retrospective because it's going to inform what's going to be happening moving forward on my channel. We need to make some decisions about extending the no buy, starting a new no buy, all those good things. So if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll stick around, hang out, and let's dive right in. This could be a mistake filming this today because my head was in a clearer space and it's starting to get a little foggy, but we're gonna persist. It has been a while since I've done any skin prep, so I'm going to start by rehydrating. We're gonna get really chatty in this one, so the products will be listed and linked down below and shown on the screen if you're just listening. Okay, I just doused myself. While that sinks in, let's kick this off. So, I'm so excited to catch up on ear prosperity, and I don't really know where to start. I think let's start off with what I've learned in the first 6 months. So to do a quick recap, the first 6 months I went on a replacement only no buy for makeup and skincare. I stepped out of that in makeup a couple of times. One when I forgot makeup on a trip, and I did use gift cards for some purchases, which that's fine. That's neither here nor there. I didn't have strong rules against gift cards. And then also I didn't break the rules of my fashion low no buy, which I'm very proud of. I ended up only getting a couple of t-shirts and then a couple of things for vacation because my warm weather clothes didn't fit, and that was a caveat that I gave. So overall, I abided by these things well, but I did learn quite a lot in this process. So the first one that I'll cover because it's easy and quick was part of my low no buy was 1 Amazon purchase a month. I followed that throughout the entirety of the 6 months, and I still plan on doing that. And it has been such a great way to kind of keep the Amazon specific spending in check. Okay, apologies. I had to release the Kraken named Frank, and you're probably gonna hear a little bit of his barking in the hallway. We are going through a whole thing with Frank and his barking, meaning training and different things, so I apologize. What I was saying is the once a month Amazon kind of rule in my no buy, I loved it so much. It was really helpful, and in a sense that I could look at what I had built the cart up over the month and be like, I don't really need that, or I don't actually really want that. It was just an impulse, and it was a good way to track it because it was just always in the cart, or you could save for later and then clean all that stuff up. It was really interesting also to see where my head is at and be able to track like trends of what I was trying to problem solve for. So I could go and look at what I already own to see if there's anything that could fix that problem, or the problem could have been, and this is what I saw a lot of, it wasn't that I needed to buy organizational bins and things, it was that I needed to declutter. I just had too much stuff for the space that we have. And so that was like a huge tip off, and I saw that trend happening month over month. So it fueled my declutter bingo, which we'll get into in a minute. But it also just kind of was a wake-up call to be like, I don't think I'm using my Prime benefits that much, especially if I'm doing 1 order a month. I'm gonna hit the shipping minimum most months, so I'm even contemplating getting rid of my Prime membership. We don't really watch Amazon Video, and outside of Kindle Unlimited, I just don't know if Prime is worth the like almost $120. It's so expensive now per year. So I actually think that I might be getting rid of that, because if I'm doing 1 order a month, and I'm really trying to get myself to do more in-person shopping, which we'll get into, but that would eliminate the like, I need this emergency overnight thing from Amazon type of thing. So that's up in the air, and there's gonna be a few things up in the air that we'll talk about, but Amazon purchasing once a month, highly recommend to everybody. Then getting into like more overarching things that aren't specific to a rule or a goal that I set in mind was, we just finished uploading all of the empties on my channel, and what I realized was I thought that there would be a lot more empties. Some of them were very in line. So I'm someone who uses just what I need. I don't overuse products, meaning like I'll use a cleanser, for example, like the Vanna Cream cleanser. I usually do 1 pump and that cleanses my whole face, and then 1 pump again. So I'm usually only using 2 pumps at night per day. So like 2 pumps per day of a product. So yeah, that's gonna last me a month to 2 months. So I knew that they wouldn't be crazy high or anything, but I was surprised to see how low some of the categories were. I just washed my makeup brushes and I have some drying back there, and I'm just realizing I don't have my favorite foundation one, so it's gonna be random brush day. But I really thought that there was gonna be more in some categories, and that just showed me that like I didn't even have the opportunity to run out of a category of a whole lot of anything really. Like a few things here and there, like hair care, but that's because I'm not really purchasing that much and I don't like to gamble in that arena. So like all the other stuff, I'm just kind of like, I wish I would have used up more. And that's gonna inspire some of the conversation about where we're gonna go. I just had so much backstock. And then the other thing, which we touched on with the Amazon stuff, is like I set out for the declutter bingo. So I have my cards up on my bulletin board that's off to my left, your right, and I think I created that in the end of January, early February, and I got through a ton of the clothing stuff in February. I did like my first kind of bigger declutter, and since then I'm like 98% done with the clothing board and probably at least 75%. I think I broke it down stats wise because I'm a Virgo, and I'm like 66% done with both cards, which is so exciting. I think it's higher than that because I'm looking and there's only 2 full boxes left on the clothing, 7 on the house declutters, but I've been really putting work in decluttering, and it's not that I'm like, all right, just gotta throw all this out. We've been donating. I've been gifting things to friends and family, not gifting, but like giving things to friends and family and just rehoming things. And it's been so nice. It's given me such a different mindset. When you go through purging like that, you start to realize how much you've overspent in a category, how much you've accumulated in a category. And there is a part that it's like, oh, this is like painful to get rid of some of this stuff. But then when you're done, you're like, oh, my house can breathe, my brain can breathe. It feels so good. And I'm really proud of the progress I made in that, because decluttering is no joke, okay? Decluttering is a task and a half. And so I'm really proud of the progress that I made there. And going through some of that, it was just kind of like, this is not who I am. And that kind of goes into like from 2021 up until the last summer when I got my autism diagnosis. I went through a really bad stage of burnout that led into like a pretty deep depressive episode. And I will have inserted a trigger warning. However, we're not going to go too deep into the details about it, so bear with me just for a moment. I just wasn't myself, and who I am, especially in relation to like beauty products and things, is I love using my stuff up. I've always said that. And I've had friends even, it was like a running joke, because I will cut things open and scrape out the last bits, because I'm someone who wants to be financially stable, even more than that, like financially proactive, and I don't like spending my money. I work very, very hard for my money. And I've had to come up through pretty, like, I didn't have a lot of money, especially coming right out of school. Like, I was not making that much money at all, and I had to pay for my apartment, my car, and student loans. So like, even in high school and college, when everyone was using MAC, the only MAC I had was from the cosmetics company Outlet, if anyone recalls that. They still have them, I think. But like all the MAC brushes that I have to this day were either bought with gift cards one at a time or at the outlet store. So like, it's just not me to have so much that I don't know what to do with it. Like, I'm a maximalist in the sense that I like to have a lengthy routine, or I like a lot of different options in scent because I burn out on scent easily, things like that. But I'm not someone who gets to a point where like they can't even navigate their own collection. I've always had a larger collection because I like to play, but it's never been as manageable as it has been And I think that flows into the next note that I took down, which was like, being a creator now, going on my 3rd year, which is crazy to think about. Getting to see the back end of all of this is really crazy. And thinking about products, you do think about them differently because they're a tool now to drive the algorithm, to drive the audience to your videos, all of that stuff. And I thought that I would be immune to that. And when I first started, I didn't have in mind that this would be my full-time career. We've talked about that at length. Like I've worked what I can't even describe to you how much I've worked for my full-time career. I've been in predominantly male-dominated fields for 9 out of the 10 years that I've been working in corporate, and I've been in some of those fields being tech, cybersecurity, some of those fields being logistics, like very, very male-dominated, and I've had to carve a path out. And some of those I didn't even have an education for, like IT and cybersecurity and logistics. Like all of that was like on the job, hustle. And so I don't know that I would ever give up that career because it means so much to me, and I've put like literal blood, sweat, and tears into it. But I think somewhere along the line, I was like, I would love for this to be my career. And in order to do so, I have to treat this like a job. And if I want to build my following and all this, I have to review new products. And so that was happening. But then also it got to a point where I just sat down, and this happened last year. I sat down and I was like really at war with myself because that's not who I am as a consumer. I know that I don't want to give my career up to be a full-time YouTuber. So what am I doing exactly? And why am I letting numbers and things kind of impact decision making when it came to spending my money? And seeing the back end of it, I am an affiliate through ShopMy. I can see when certain things are being pushed by brands, commissions go up, and I was seeing a correlation with some of the creators who I look up to, and I don't knock anyone's hustle. And for people who this is their full-time career, I understand that the income needs to be there, but a lot of it was starting to feel disingenuous to me. And that coupled with like the mental health journey that I was on, that's really why I kind of took a step back, because I didn't want to be involved in that. And I don't want to be a salesperson. I'm like so far from someone who could be a salesperson. Like, sure, I love sharing products that I love and I get excited about them, so it can come off that way, but I'm not someone who like it. I just can't fake that. I mean, God, as an autistic woman who has never been able to fake emotions, even when it was to my own detriment, like laughing at a higher up's jokes, I just can't do it. It's just not something that's easy to me, and it's very, you can just tell. And I know that I can't fake it, and I know that you're going to be able to tell, so then I just don't do it at all. So it's been a really crazy journey seeing everything from the back end. And then to that, I will say I do use affiliate links. And so there is a part of that I have to do if I'm using those links. And I use those links because I would love for this to be a self-sustaining hobby, or for that to give me more wiggle room to purchase things. But I was letting that seep over into like my personal budget and affecting how I personally shop. And that's just not what I'm about. And seeing how much stuff, not just makeup, just stuff in general, has accumulated in the house, and how much work it has been to work through decluttering and organizing and making my space work for me, I never want to go back there again. And I'm not going back there. And I would be remiss, and this is where we're going to get into some mental health things, so maybe skip ahead, but we're not going to go too deep or anything. My mental health from 2021 to 2023 took such a nosedive because I just could no longer keep up with the demands of the life that I had built and the precedents that I had set with other people. And finding out that I was autistic shifted all of that, and I had now had the tools. And I talked about in therapy, my therapist now has the tools for us to really drill down and really get into like the heavy duty work. And I've been doing that work, and it's crazy to look back and think about what this last year has been, because I have put in so much work and I feel so much better, and I feel so much more settled in myself and accepting of like who I am as a person, the emotions that I feel, how I react to things, how I navigate situations in life in general. And while I was doing all of that work, it took a lot of time away from me being more engaged with some of the habits that I had previously. Now, when I mention habits that I had previously, that means coping skills. And a lot of my coping skills were being chronically online, hyperfixating on certain problems and solutions and diving into research about them, to the point where I was talking in therapy and we were talking about how I take such hot showers. And the therapist was like, "Why do you think you take such hot showers?" And tell me why my instinct wasn't to like sit with that question and answer it, but immediately after that session, I started Googling it because I wanted the scientific reason of why that would be. Now listen, I love science and I love facts, but I had gotten to a point where I wasn't even trusting my own reasoning of why I liked a shower the way it was. Honestly, I just like it because it relaxes my muscles because they're stiff. That was the answer. And it's the sensory aspect of it. I just like being wrapped in warm water. And I had just gotten to that place. I was just Googling everything. And I love doing a research project, but I need to keep it in check to the point where like I can trust my own instinct on why I do a certain thing. And it was just very eye-opening. And I didn't even realize that until months into therapy. I brought it back up and they were like, "Yeah, that's kind of crazy." Not crazy, but that's kind of like, that is a good kind of revelation. And part of that was being on social media, taking in beauty content. I feel sometimes now when I sit down to film that I might not be the best person to speak on a beauty product because I haven't been keeping tabs on it like I used to. I used to be very invested in it. I've been invested in it since 2009, and I tried to step back from all of that, and it really helped because I wasn't looking at all the new releases coming. I wasn't looking at who was reviewing what and what they were saying about it. And I was just kind of like using what I already had, minus some of those purchases that I made. And that felt so good. And it felt more true to like me as a person, because how I consume is if I'm using things up, I've used something all the way up, or I notice a hole in my routine, or it's reacting with my skin in a way that I don't like, and then I'll go on the hunt of like researching what could potentially be a better option or fill that gap. And in order to be that type of consumer, you have to let things breathe, and you can't be taking in new all the time, and you can't be watching people who are driving sales and that is their main job. And so that's what I don't want my channel to be. And that's why I want to talk about what the heck's gonna go on my channel from here on out, because I have what I think really kind of refound myself, and I appreciate her so much, and I want that to shine through on my channel. And that doesn't mean that I've changed so much as a person that nothing will be the same. Like, I'm still the same, you know, like the same core person. It's just that my coping skills are stronger now, and in a way that suits my lifestyle the way that I want to suit my lifestyle. I've kind of taken the reins back, so to speak. And I hope this is making sense, because I thought about scripting this, but I was like, we're coming off the cuff with it, because it's just a stream of consciousness, really. So going back to like having too much stuff and that not being me as a consumer, the other thing that happened in the last year, not in the last year, since 2021 to 2023, that kind of dark age, the dark ages, that's what we're gonna call it now on my channel. I also had all of these products, and I mentioned this in an Empties a long time ago. I was buying all of these kind of more like self-care focused products, but what was crazy is I wasn't using them, and I was really neglecting my physical well-being because my mental well-being was just not in a good spot. So that was a really hard one to grapple with. And I think over the last year since my diagnosis, I've been utilizing a lot of different tools, and I do want to go through like coping skills and the like low energy card. That's a coping mechanism. that you can build out. It's really just listing your coping skills. So I promised a few of you that I would do that video, and I'm definitely going to. I was really neglecting myself, and that's not good. And because I was neglecting myself, I wasn't using any products. And so now I've been really carving out time and space for me to just really relish in self-care and using all of my products, and it has been absolutely wonderful. But with that, I was finding that my skin has changed because I'm entering my mid-30s. Always thought this would be my prime, not gonna lie, since I was like a little girl. But I had that time and space to breathe, like I mentioned before, so I realized like some of my routines just weren't cutting it, and what I wanted to get out of my routines. So think like hair care, skin care, body care, like what do I want out of those? What results do I want, and what am I striving for? What's the upkeep like? All of that good stuff. So I have spent like the last 6 months, because the first 6 months of diagnosis was kind of like, what's that emoji that's like, ooh, that's what I felt like. So the most previous 6 months has been me rebuilding, really. And I have rebuilt so many good routines, and I'm going to list them here for you, because now we're going to get into like, what can you expect on my channel? So we're going to cover some of the routines that I've nailed down, some of the routines that still have things that I'm trying to figure out, and then what is going to happen with the next 12 months, because I want to do a project. So I really buckled down on my oral hygiene and got some of the sensory things fixed, found products that worked for me, and now I'm really happy with that routine. I've gotten my skincare routine to the best that I think it has ever been, which is so crazy, because it's so nice that brands are now making products that are more suited to my skin type, so that I can take advantage of things like vitamin C and retinol, but it's very kind of driven by science and what's going to give the biggest impact while keeping it minimal. I'm jumping ahead of myself. I also figured out a gradual tan routine that's a lot easier and that I can manage, and that makes me feel good really just in the summer months when I crave it, if that makes sense. And then finding more affordable kind of daily staple products, so that when I run through them, I don't feel any type of way about going out and repurchasing them. Like the the techniques and products that I just did, that's pretty much my everyday face, and I very rarely stray from that now. And it's also pretty quick for me to put on, so it's really nice that I have that. And then I also just came to terms with like buying clothes that fit, and also how to keep my collection organized in a way that makes sense. So for example, and we can do a whole rundown video on this, I now store my clothes by season and size, because I do have a body that fluctuates, and that has been such a game changer, because I now have my closet opened up with enough space to know exactly what I have, and it's easy to go get dressed. But in the event that my weight fluctuates, I know that I have a buffer, and I'm not going to have to go out and repurchase a whole new wardrobe because it's stored. And I actually thought of this because of Kelly Clarkson in an interview she did with Maya Bialik on her podcast. But we can go through that. I'll be doing a wardrobe switch out in October, so we can do that then. Kind of a rundown of how I do all of that and manage it. But then I have some things that are like in flight, meaning I haven't made decisions on what to do yet. And that's gonna be the fun part of this upcoming project on my channel. I do need to make some of these decisions before I kind of unleash the project, which is figuring out which beauty services I value and want to keep in consistent rotation. So if you're new here, I have done lashes and brows, tint and lift for both. I've done my hard gel nails, and then I've also done pedicures, which they're so expensive. A lot of this is just because, like, one, I don't want to be filling my house up with so much stuff that I can't manage it anymore. That brush sheds so bad. But also because everything is so expensive now. I know everybody's feeling that, but listen, I'm feeling it too, okay? A lot. So I need to figure out, like, what services can I DIY, what services do I keep, and what services do I just drop? I used to do a lot, a lot of DIY. I used to do my own gel nails. I used to do my own brow shaping and tinting, my own pedicures, all that stuff. So we're gonna bring that stuff back after we figure out what's gonna happen. Then I also need to lock down my Holy Grail body care and my Holy Grail hair care. Those are really the three things I need to figure out. I don't think that I've said this eloquently enough, so I want to say it now, which is my goal here is to get back to the roots of who I am as a consumer, which is I love finding that perfect product, and I will have a very long affair with that product. Like, it'll almost take a reformulation or a discontinuation for me to drop that product. It is very seldom that the new thing knocks my favorite out. I think you've seen that here on my channel. The NARS Light Reflecting Foundation was my go-to for well over a year, 2 years almost. The Rose Ink Concealer, I haven't really strayed away from that. I've gone back to the Kosas Concealer. That one was a favorite for a long time. Like, when I find that product and it is exactly what I want and I'm okay with the price, I'm not changing it. My skin prep has been the same since I first tried Sea Submerge and Burn It Force Field. I have not strayed from that. And so I want to get back to that, where I'm on the hunt for the perfect routine, the perfect product for whatever I'm looking for, that brush hair. And that's where I want to stay. So I think what I'm trying to tell you is that if you are someone who's looking for new, this probably is not going to be a channel for you. But if you're someone who wants honest opinions, who does not rely on this as their day job, and who just loves the investigation of finding the it product, I do it with clothes, I do it with beauty, and that's what I want to share on my channel. That's what this is going to be about. So that said, I think I'm like grappling with whether to just say it or have it be a surprise, but I think I'm just going to say it because we still have some things left to figure out before I can unveil all the details. But basically what's going to happen is I'm going to go on a year no-buy. And when I mean no-buy, I mean replacement only after I've run through a category. There's going to be only a few exceptions, and I've started listing them out. I think I want to keep my exceptions within a box of like, there's only 5 exceptions or something. But I'm being very meticulous with planning this because the goal is to really rein it in, and also to be able to track and see while I was reined in what rose to be the cream of the crop, you know? Like, yes, I want to save up some money because I have projects that I want to do that require money. And if I would just buckle down, I could do it. Like, I could start a clothing line if I just buckled down and got that initial investment saved. And I want to be able to do things like that. Also have house projects that are quite big and it's quite expensive. And I'm just a normal consumer like everybody else, and I need to be able to save for that too. But on the flip side of it, I want that rush of dopamine when I finish a product. I felt so good finishing that Westman Atelier powder. So good. And I also have the energy and the want to kind of take care of myself in that self-care way now. And so I want to make sure the products that I'm using deserve that shelf space and make me feel good and give me the results that I want. And so that's what we're gonna do. And I think I wanted to note here, like, there's this big underconsumption trend happening now. And I wouldn't have even brought it up because it wasn't really on my radar, but Kelly Gooch has made a video, and I think a couple other creators have made videos about this, and I think I want you to know that I am not doing this because of that trend. And I do have thoughts on that being a trend. I think it's indicative of the times that we're in, and everybody feeling the crunch, everyone feeling the price increases, and just being over it. Also, in beauty specifically, we're so oversaturated. Not to say that there's not space for new brands to pop up and kill it like Prequel, but just saying, like, we're so overrun and overwhelmed with so much content about it, so many new releases, so many new brands. that I think everyone's feeling the burnout stage of it. And there's a lot that you could say about like late stage capitalism, everybody's feeling it, the inflation, everybody's feeling it. So I understand why it's trending, but I've already started to see it over on TikTok become trendy in the way that is like flipped on its head, and it's already become an oxymoron, because they're like, here's the 5 things you need for overconsumption. It's like, but that's not how that works. Or underconsumption, sorry. That's not how that works. And also, a lot of people have said, and I do agree, that like the underconsumption is really just like how we should be consuming, but I think we need to take a lot of shame out of it, because it's not a competition of like, you're an overconsumer, I'm an underconsumer. It's really about tuning in with like, what kind of consumer are you? Do you like to have 5 different lip colors available to you? Do you like to have 20 lip balms available to you in different shades and flavors? Or are you someone who has one Lana Lips product, that's all they need, and they don't care to spend more? No one gets to tell anybody how and when to spend their money, period, point blank. And everybody's idea of what is quote unquote responsible is different. And everyone's tolerance for how much of their budget they want to dedicate to something, to a hobby, to whatever, is different. We're not leaning into underconsumption on this channel. This channel has always been about conscious consumerism, and I mean that in the sense of not going into debt over makeup and beauty, or not spending beyond your means on makeup and beauty, loving the products and using the products that we have, looking at the ethics of the brand, supporting brands that we want to support, but also putting pressure on brands that might need to have better ethics, because it's not all on the consumer to make these things better. It's a lot on legislation in these larger companies. And I don't want to get too deep on politics and things like that, but I just want you to know this is not a part of the underconsumption trend, and this is also a neutral zone of you drive the seat of your financial decisions and also your consumption decisions, taking finance out of it completely. You know how many lip glosses that you can stand to manage, or how many body washes that you have space for in your bathroom linen closet. You decide that. And I think we need more of that empowerment rather than saying like, this is right and this is wrong. And also, I'm not here for jumping on every single trend. That's another thing my channel is about. We are not a trend channel. We are a do what you feel, do what makes you happy channel. So that's my soapbox piece on that. I'm gonna put some lips on. All right, there is the finished look. I hope that made some semblance of sense. I have no idea if it did. It was kind of a stream of consciousness, kind of where I ended my 6 months at. It's been a very wild ride. Very, very proud of myself. And I think we're coming back into like a more coherent Rachel era, because coming off of Zoloft, I was not coherent. It was very hard. The brain fog was very real and lasted a very long time. And I still don't know that I'm like fully out of the woods, even though it's been a little while. But I can't thank you enough for being here and being along for this journey, especially the ones who have stuck through this last year. It's been very rough, and I have not been consistent with uploads. I already feel so much more energy towards these creative endeavors and doing this again and putting the work in, and I can't thank you enough. I know that I may have sounded contradictory, but I just want to recap this. So I learned a lot in my 6-month no low buy. Even if it wasn't a perfect absolutely no purchases, I think I learned a lot from it, and I'm going to take that into the next year. And the second thing is, if you're struggling with your mental health and if you find that you are coping through shopping and all of those good things, social media, highly recommend you check out a therapist. I will link below Psychology Today that helped me find my therapist before, and also ND Therapist, which is neurodivergent therapist. If you are also neurodivergent, highly recommend that. The other thing is, I hope you feel empowered that you are in the driving seat of your decision making when it comes to consumption and who you watch even. And I think I'll end that with like, I'm so grateful that you are here and spending your time and attention with me. And I will continue to use affiliate marketing because I want to be able to support my channel, because this is a lot of work. As much as it's my hobby, there's a lot of work that goes into it behind the scenes, but I never want you to feel pressured to use those I'm always very grateful, and it does allow me to connect with brands that I wouldn't have the opportunity to otherwise, like In Beauty, who is a brand that I've always supported, and I love trying new things from them, and they always seem to find a way to be kind of built into my routine seamlessly, and I wouldn't have those opportunities if you weren't clicking my links. And I don't want you to feel that you need to do any of those things to support me, because your views and you being here is more than enough and more than I could ever ask for. And I will continue to use those, but by no means feel no pressure. I also always write out, I'm trying to get it out, I always write out the name of the product so you can easily copy and paste and Google it from there if you don't want to use those. So that is totally fine. In a nutshell, thank you for being here. Your support means so much, whether you just watch, whether you give me a like, whether you subscribe, whether you comment. It means the world to me, because this project has meant the world to me, and I've been able to capture on camera a lot of personal growth that has happened. And it feels incredible to, one, be able to go back and watch that, but two, to share that with you. Getting emotional was not on the agenda today, but it means a lot to share it with you, especially because I think there's a lot of you that feel similarly to me or have been through similar situations. And the community piece of it is what kept me going, even in the months where, what is happening? Even in the months where I was like, what am I doing? I don't want to be a salesperson. What am I doing? I don't want to do this. I don't want to be that person. But I stayed true to what I said. I think there was an opportunity for the next gen of beauty YouTubers to carve out a new path, and I don't know that it was successful, but I will continue to try to carve a new path so that we don't run into the same things over and over again, which is just pushing products and becoming out of touch with who we are as makeup lovers at the core. And I'm gonna stop being so sappy. I really hope you're having a wonderful day, and you mean the world to me, and know that that's why I'm overrun with emotion, because as I'm sitting here just thinking about the comments that have happened in the last year, they mean so much to me, and I go back and read them anytime I have doubts about why I'm doing this and why I'm sharing this story with you. And we're gonna end it there, because girl, she can't get through. I will have all the products listed and linked down below. I hope you're having a wonderful day. This is an awkward outro, but I will see you in the next one, which will be an introduction into the project and the note buy that we're about to embark on together. So have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video, hopefully. Bye.